Organs of government. The term organs of government refers to the different branches or divisions responsible for various functions within a governing body. These organs typically include the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, each having distinct roles in the formulation, execution, and interpretation of laws, respectively. The concept is often associated with the idea of the separation of powers to prevent the concentration of authority in a single entity. The executive organ of government. The executive organ of government is responsible for implementing and enforcing laws. It is headed by the head of state or head of government and typically includes various ministries, departments, and agencies tasked with carrying out the day-to-day operations of the government. The leader of the executive branch may have different titles depending on the country, such as president, prime minister, or monarch. Functions of the executive organ of government. Number 1. Implementation of laws. Executes and enforces laws passed by the legislative branch. Number 2. Policy formulation. Develops and implements government policies to address societal issues and meet national objectives. Number 3. Administration. Manages government departments, agencies, and services to ensure the efficient functioning of public institutions. Number 4. Foreign affairs. Conducts diplomatic relations, negotiates treaties, and represents the country in international matters. Number 5. National defense. Takes measures to safeguard the country's security, often overseeing the military and law enforcement agencies. Number 6. Budgeting and finance. Proposes and manages the national budget, allocating resources for public services and infrastructure. Number 7. Crisis management. Deals with emergencies, crises, and disasters, coordinating responses to protect citizens and maintain order. Number 8. Appointment of officials. Appoints key officials, such as ministers, ambassadors, and heads of agencies, to assist in governance. Number 9. Regulation and oversight. Establishes regulations and monitors compliance in various sectors to ensure fair practices and protect the public interest. Number 10. Execution of foreign policy. Implements foreign policy decisions, fostering relations with other nations and participating in international organizations. The legislative organ of government. The legislative organ of government is responsible for making laws. It is a branch of government that deliberates, debates, and passes legislation. The legislative branch is typically bicameral, meaning it consists of 2 chambers or houses, although some countries have a unicameral system with only one legislative body. Commonly known as the Parliament, Congress, or Assembly, the legislative organ plays a crucial role in shaping the legal framework of a nation. Members of this branch are often elected by the public, and their primary function is to represent the interests of the citizens and create laws that govern the country. Functions of the legislative organ of government. Number 1. Lawmaking. The primary function is to create, amend, and repeal laws in response to the changing needs and circumstances of society. Number 2. Representation. Represents the interests and concerns of the citizens by allowing elected representatives to voice and advocate for their constituents. Number 3. Approval of budgets. Examines and approves government budgets, allocating funds for various programs, services, and public projects. Number 4. Scrutiny of the executive. Monitors and scrutinizes the actions of the executive branch, ensuring accountability and transparency in governance. Number 5. Confirmation and oversight. Confirms appointments of key officials, such as cabinet members and judges, and conducts oversight to ensure they fulfill their duties appropriately. Number 6. Debate and discussion. Provides a forum for open debate and discussion on national issues, allowing diverse perspectives to be considered. Number 7. Declaration of war. In countries where the legislature has this power, it may be responsible for declaring war or authorizing military actions. Number 8. Impeachment. Has the authority to impeach and remove certain officials, including the head of state, for misconduct or abuse of power. The judiciary organ of government. The judicial organ of government is responsible for interpreting laws, ensuring their application, and adjudicating legal disputes. It is an independent system of courts and judges tasked with administering justice. Functions of the judiciary. Number 1. Interpreting laws. Deciding the meaning and intent of laws to ensure consistent application. Number 2. Adjudicating disputes. Resolving legal conflicts between individuals, entities, or the government. Number 3. Upholding constitutionality. Ensuring that laws and government actions align with the Constitution and safeguarding individual rights. Number 4. Judicial review. Assessing the constitutionality of laws and government actions, potentially declaring them void if found incompatible with the Constitution. Number 5. Criminal trials. Conducting trials for criminal offenses and determining guilt or innocence. Number 6. Civil cases. Hearing civil cases involving private disputes and awarding remedies or damages. Number 7. Protection of rights. Safeguarding fundamental rights and liberties through legal interpretation and application. Number 8. Appellate review. Reviewing decisions from lower courts to ensure legal correctness and fairness. Number 9. Legal precedent. Establishing legal precedents through decisions that guide future cases with similar issues. Take out some time to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Separation of powers. The separation of powers is a fundamental principle in governance that divides the functions of a government into distinct branches. The separation of powers aims to prevent the abuse of authority by distributing different functions among independent branches, providing checks and balances to ensure no single branch becomes too powerful. Reasons for separation of powers. Number 1. Prevention of abuse of power. By dividing governmental functions among legislative, executive, and judicial branches, the separation of powers helps prevent any one branch from accumulating too much authority and reduces the risk of abuse of power. Number 2. Protection of individual rights. It ensures the protection of individual rights and liberties by placing a check on each branch, preventing any branch from infringing upon citizens' rights. Number 3. Checks and balances. The separation of powers provides the foundation for checks and balances, allowing each branch to check the actions of the others, thereby maintaining a balance of power within the government. Number 4. Accountability and transparency. The division of powers promotes accountability as each branch is responsible for specific functions. This enhances transparency and makes it easier to identify and address issues of misconduct or inefficiency. Number 5. Rule of law. The separation of powers reinforces the supremacy of the rule of law, requiring all branches to operate within legal constraints and ensuring that laws adhere to constitutional principles. Number 6. Independence of the judiciary. By placing the judiciary as a separate and independent branch, the separation of powers ensures that judges are not subject to political pressure, fostering impartiality in the interpretation and application of laws. Number 7. Promotion of stability. The separation of powers contributes to political stability by preventing rapid and unchecked changes in policy. Decisions often require collaboration between branches, fostering a more measured and deliberate approach to governance. Number 8. Adaptation to change. The system allows for the adaptation of laws and policies to changing circumstances, as the legislative branch can respond to evolving needs without interference from the executive or judiciary. Number 9. Prevention of tyranny. It acts as a safeguard against tyranny by dispersing power and preventing the concentration of authority in the hands of a single person or group. Number 10. Encouragement of debate and deliberation. The separation of powers encourages open debate and deliberation among branches, promoting a more comprehensive understanding of issues and fostering better informed decision-making. Checks and balances. Checks and balances refer to a system in government where each branch has the ability to limit the powers of the other branches, preventing any one branch from becoming too powerful. This concept is designed to ensure that no single part of the government can act without some degree of influence or oversight from the other branches. The purpose is to maintain a balance of power, promote accountability, and prevent the abuse of authority within a democratic system. Checks and balances are fundamental to the idea of the separation of powers, which is a key principle in many democratic constitutions. Checks and balances between the three organs of government. Number 1. Legislative checks. Override veto. The legislative branch can override a presidential veto with a 2/3 majority vote. Impeachment. The legislature can impeach and remove the president or other high officials. Confirmation and rejection. The Senate confirms or rejects key executive appointments and treaties negotiated by the president. Number 2. Executive checks. Veto power. The president can veto legislation passed by the legislature. Executive orders. The president can issue executive orders, but they can be challenged and limited by the judiciary. Pardon power. The president has the power to pardon individuals, but this authority is not absolute and may be subject to legal review. Number 3. Judicial checks. Judicial review. The judiciary can review and declare laws or executive actions unconstitutional. Lifetime appointments. Judges are often appointed for life or a set term, reducing the influence of the other branches on their decisions. Interpretation of laws. The judiciary interprets laws, ensuring they align with the Constitution and providing a check on legislative and executive actions. Reasons for checks and balances. Number 1. Prevention of abuse of power. By distributing powers among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, checks and balances help prevent any one branch from accumulating excessive authority, thus reducing the risk of abuse of power. Number 2. Protection of individual rights. The system ensures that the rights and liberties of individuals are safeguarded by allowing the judiciary to review and strike down laws or actions that violate constitutional principles. Number 3. Promotion of accountability. Each branch is accountable to the others, fostering transparency and responsibility in government. For example, the legislative branch can investigate and impeach officials for misconduct. Number 4. Maintenance of rule of law. Checks and balances contribute to the supremacy of the rule of law. All branches must operate within legal constraints, and the judiciary ensures that laws adhere to constitutional principles. Number 5. Encouragement of collaboration. The need for cooperation between branches encourages dialogue, compromise, and collaboration in the legislative process, leading to more thoughtful and well-rounded policies. Number 6. Adaptation to changing circumstances. As societal needs evolve, the system allows for the adjustment of laws and policies through the legislative branch, preventing stagnation and facilitating adaptation to changing circumstances. Number 7. Protection against tyranny. The system acts as a safeguard against tyranny, ensuring that no single individual or group can monopolize power and oppress the citizenry. Number 8. Preservation of separation of powers. Checks and balances help maintain the separation of powers, a key principle in democratic governance that prevents the concentration of authority in any one branch. Differences between separation of powers and checks and balances. Number 1. Definition. Separation of powers refers to the division of governmental responsibilities among distinct branches, legislative, executive, and judicial, to prevent the concentration of power in one authority. Checks and balances refer to the mechanisms within a government system that allow one branch to limit the powers of the other branches, preventing any one branch from becoming too dominant. Number 2. Objective. The primary goal of separation of powers is to prevent the abuse of power by dispersing responsibilities and functions, creating distinct areas of authority for each branch. The primary goal of checks and balances is to ensure accountability, transparency, and prevent any branch from overreaching its authority. Number 3. Implementation. Separation of powers is achieved by assigning specific powers and functions to each branch through constitutional or legal provisions. Checks and balances achieved through the ability of one branch to restrain, review, or influence the actions of another branch. This includes veto powers, judicial review, and confirmation processes. Number 4. Focus. Separation of powers emphasizes the independence of each branch and the clarity of roles to maintain a balance in the exercise of government authority. Checks and balances emphasizes the interdependence of the branches, where each has the ability to check the actions of the others, creating a system of mutual restraint. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.